Hello, friends. We are back again with another chapter of Industry Talk. Today, we have with us Mr. Vikram Rajola. Mr. Vikram Rajola, who is a trainer, teacher, coach, and mentor. He has over 18 years of experience in the development, training, and capacity building sectors. An engineer from RTU Kota, he has a master's degree in environmental engineering from Delhi Technical University. He worked with Nanyang Technological University, Singapore as development manager. An advocate of youth volunteerism, in 2014, Mr. Rajola set up an NGO, Indeed Foundation, with the objective to encourage Indian youth to volunteer and harness technology as a tool to conduct, coordinate, and manage education and outreach activities and bridge the digital divide. The main focus is on upgrading computer and IT skills, communication and English language skills of students from rural and government schools in intervention areas. Welcome, sir. Achieving so much in short span is really commendable. So, sir, what has been your driving force behind all this?
Ma'am, basically I myself, my name is Vikram Rajola, and Rajola is the village where I come from. It's a small village in the Pali district of Rajasthan. It was just the privilege of birth that gave me any and all opportunities that I was lucky to have. My father was a class 1 government officer before I was born, and which is why I went to the best of institutes and schooling and college. And after that, I got the opportunities to work at all the places that I did. But immediate extended family se leke people from the rural area background, us region se, and if you take the entire division, Western Rajasthan, or lots of rural areas, I have seen this since childhood. I can see the glaring disparity, the difference between what quality education and the lack of it can do to people, how important it is for everybody. There's this real education deficit and digital divide. It is so talked about in the media. Everybody knows that between India and Bharat. In 2014, when we actually started this organization, we did this study, and we were horrified when we realized that 1 in 3 children, just taking the example of Rajasthan, 1 in 3 children was failing the crucial class 10th board exams. So what would happen to a child who has failed in class 10th? This was 2014, so approximately 2060 तक उसका अगर 40-45 year work life है, वो बच्चा जो 10वीं फेल है वो इस 21वीं सदी में 21st century में क्या करे? Nobody wants to go back to earlier professions, so including farming, which till now in the parents' generation was considered a pretty decent occupation. It was hard labor, but nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants a white collar job, and there's this increasing gap between expectations and reality and capability of young people. So nothing much has changed since when we were children and growing up in school and college in the 80s and 90s. In fact, the status, the situation must have deteriorated, not improved. There are millions more children, the population has grown, there are so many opportunities, and the expectations have gone shot through the roof. And the capability to meet those expectations is very, very limited. So there we wanted to step in. I personally wanted to change the status quo, to try to do something which can enable rural and government school children, which can provide them the opportunities and some decent improved quality education, so that they can at least try to fulfill their potential. That was the basic driving force behind whatever we are doing.
Okay, so a little more about your Indeed Foundation and outreach program. How do you go about it, and what all people do there? How does it work exactly?
Sure. Given that academics is one of the most important, not the only component, but one of the most important components of any student's life, and we started with, since we did this survey and we got to understand the failure, the high failure rates and lack of success in academics is one of the leading causes which hinders progress of these millions of students in rural and government schools. So we started to make a difference there. So we started extra classes for students, particularly for class 10th. Then we moved on to other classes in senior grade, 9, 10, 11, 12, and slowly up to lower classes. Then from academics, we moved on to other subjects, other areas of school activity, co-curricular activities, English, and a lot of dramatics, art, anything which improves their confidence, exposure. And so we do this program called Sambhavna. This is possibilities, which in the meaning, in the word, means possibilities. Under that, we do edutainment fairs to give them exposure. We do a lot of learning camps where students and volunteers from good schools and colleges go to the village. They stay there overnight or during the day, and they do a lot of programs with, including if it's just embroidery also, students are learning in the rural areas, they're learning. Then under student exchange, we kind of bring international as well as Indian students to come and visit and interact with the village and government school students. And on the other hand, we also try to bring wherever opportunity presents itself, rural students to the best of schools and colleges to see what exactly is the infrastructure like, how the students study in the best of public and private institutions in the country. So I'll just recount one particular incident. There were these class 5th students we had brought from 2 villages. So 20 of them we had brought. And city mein jab unko laye, so after a huge tour, there was one of the prominent schools in Jodhpur. And पूरा दिन का टूर करके एक्स्ट्रा क्लासेस, स्मार्ट बोर्ड वाला क्लासेस, सब कुछ उन्होंने देखा. तो एट द एंड ऑफ द डे देन वी आस्क्ड देम, अच्छा क्या देखा आपने, व्हाट डिड यू लर्न, व्हाट वाज डिफरेंट. सो one, of course, they mentioned the smart board because that they had never seen. But second point that the students mentioned, they said, "Atte to sabare kursiyan hai," which means here everybody has individual chairs to sit. So that's the level of difference that exists, and that exposure, that intermingling, we provide that opportunity so that rural students realize that you have to compete with these people to be able to make a mark in life. So how much more hard work you need to put in, what exactly is the level of effort that you need to put in. It's not impossible, but it is definitely difficult. You need to work much harder. So that also we do. Last 3 years, we started digital empowerment also. So we have now this proper digital resource center. It was supported by one of the larger corporates in India, the Capital Group. And through that, we have around 20-25 computers in the village at the center. And we have full-time staff, we have proper internet connection, a smart board, and more than 1,000 people have been trained at the center in computer and basics of MS Office. All this work is generally done through volunteers. We have very few, very limited staff who are there, full-time on role. And work is done through dedicated, passionate, committed student volunteers, mostly college, but also from schools. And Indeed Foundation is basically nothing more than it's a bridge which connects these volunteers with places and people where they are needed, where they are required, where they can go and share their experience and knowledge. They can teach, counsel, guide, provide advice, and so on and so forth. Why we did this and why youth volunteerism in particular? Well, during my work, I've noticed, particularly in the development sector in India and across the world, it's very common and it's a developed concept in the Western countries. But in India, it kind of doesn't exist. And to promote volunteerism was also one of the larger objectives of Indeed Foundation. Why? Because it provides people the ability to connect with each other, to come out of that closed, this 21st century problem of being dominated by gadgets and screen time. It helps develop empathy. It gives a lot of skills like confidence, leadership, team building, and it helps students and youth build resilience and the ability to adapt outside their immediate comfort zones. Plus, in 21st century, in order to excel in any profession, it will be very, very important to take up opportunities which will exist in all parts of the globe, not just in India, but all parts of the globe. And anybody who can adapt easily outside of their cultural comfort zone would be the ones who excel at work and who are able to actually take those opportunities and do well professionally and be successful in their work also and lead a happy and content life. So that was the overall purpose and vision that we kind of.
So from engineering to running an NGO and working in the development sector, so what has your journey been? I mean, what all challenges have you faced and what are your success experiences here? I mean, how successful you've been through it?
Jerry. Basically, I am a civil and environment engineer. I did my BTech in civil engineering and then I went on to initially I wanted to go for MBA. So I was preparing for CAT in my third year. Then I realized none of my friends, nobody in the close circle, everybody was preparing for the GATE examination. That's how human mind, kids, it's more, there's a lot of pressure. So I also chucked the idea of CAT. I started preparing for GATE. I did pretty well, and I did go for masters then in one of the premier colleges in the country, and I did my environment engineering masters. There, again, like everybody else, there's a lot of peer pressure, and the idea is, okay, let's follow the general trend, what everybody is doing. People in droves, software and tech companies, because they were doing pretty well in early, this I'm talking about 2000, 2001. They were doing very well, everybody was, and civil environment background also, people were taken. It was not like software companies used to not be limited just to core computer or electronics students. They were open to civil, mechanical, everything. So I was preparing and hoping that one of these companies, which regularly come for campus placement, I'd be able to crack it and then go on and enjoy, like basically that was the idea. Unfortunately, 9/11 happened. The year was 2001. 9/11 happened, and there were not many placements. It was suddenly the world economy went for a toss, and there was a lot of churning. So again, the trajectory changed. It was not by choice, but during this final 6 month, the final semester, 6 month project that we had in our masters, we were really worried what will happen. Where will we go once this is over, once we complete the project? Well, as it turned out, I kind of did well academically, and I was asked by the professor to join as a visiting faculty at the college itself. So I started teaching BTech environment engineering students for a few semesters. From there, I moved to one of the prominent NGOs in working in the sector, which works in environment and sanitation related areas. So it was all by networking, and it was serendipity. I was just there at the right place at the right time, and things kept moving. So I cannot claim that it was a very conscious decision on my part, but things happened, and uncertainty played a large part in that. Talking about challenges, well, since childhood, like I mentioned, that there was a lot of, like it was always at the back of my mind that something needs to be done. I need to do something, I need to do something. But what it would be, what shape will it take, how, when, these were all very big questions. And I never had any idea about them. So there was lack of clarity and focus. Even when I did take a conscious decision like 2013 and I quit my full-time job, but taking that first step, I returned from Singapore, I gave up my Singapore PR, but quitting a cushy job, giving up the comfort of a regular salary, moving into that zone of uncertainty where you have no idea what will happen next and whether or not you'll actually be able to make an impact also. Not the easiest, that was dreadful. It was not easy, it was really difficult. Over and above, convincing people, even closest to you, friends and family also, it's much easier said than done. People start thinking you're crazy, you have these odd dreams, nobody would even support that. And let's see. But thankfully, things do happen. Once you persist with it, then lots of things change. People also change, their attitude changes once they see the grit and the determination and some things moving on the ground. So there has been enormous learning and my own growth as an individual. Now we have around hundreds of volunteers and wonderful young people. We get a chance to meet with them, engage with them, work with them, and it's a fantastic experience. In fact, I've worked longer with my own NGO. It's been over 6 years now. I've worked longer with that than I have worked with any other organization, including like I was working in Singapore, fantastic university, decent job, not much work pressure, and a lot of international travel. But I didn't do that. It's just 4 years and some months. Previously in India also, I was doing a lot of international travel, working on projects with UN agencies and all. But I didn't stay there for more than 4.5 years. But then I moved on. So with this NGO, I've spent more than 6 years already. One of the most impactful, meaningful exchanges in this process, I'll just recount a small incident. There was this international exchange student in class 11, studying in class 11, doing her entire class 11 in a school in India. We were doing this 1 week program with her. So 8 days, we took her to government schools and she was engaging with students, teaching them English and doing a lot of interaction with them. Towards the end of that, she just looked at me and she said, I wanted to go for medicine. I wanted to study medicine, become a doctor. But now I would like to do what you do. So what is it that you have studied? I just would like to study there. I of course said there's nothing special that I've studied. Although there are courses, like there are masters in social work, there are relevant courses in development and these sectors. But I myself did engineering, and like I said in the earlier. But that was an amazing, like that was one of the reasons where you believe that you are actually making an impact. Like uh, what I wanted to achieve, I set out to make a difference in lives, and more importantly in the minds of youth. And I guess we are moving in the right direction. It may not be very significant or something very, very big, but I would be the best judge of that. And things are moving in the right direction. So that's what gives you hope and a bit of happiness and satisfaction. Also.
So it's really exhilarating listening to all that, and maybe a lot of other youths will come up to you to do the same. Okay, so what would your advice be to the students who are stressed due to uncertainties related to the postponement of exams, and youngsters who have a fear of losing their jobs due to COVID and related economic slowdown that we're facing?
Okay, I can kind of sum up this in around 3-4 points. From my own journey, I have come to now believe, had this been the time of 2000, 2001, I myself would have been really, really jittery. Uncertainty is not the best experience to go through. And right now it is much, much bigger. Like it's impacting not just 9/11 was just confined to one country and one city. The repercussions were international, went over the globe because US is a superpower and was actually. But COVID is something which is actually impacting. It's forcing us to stay within our homes, and this is something unprecedented. It cannot directly be compared with 9/11. But to an extent, that was also one measure of uncertainty. It did change a lot of things for us youth. It took us to different directions, which is why by itself maybe uncertainty is not bad. It may even be good. It may help you figure out what you need to do. Plus, it's always a work in progress. It's a journey. As students and youths, third year, final year, one does not need to have it all figured out already. These are like work in progress. We keep moving, we keep learning even during our professional journey, and there can be an age and stage when you actually realize that okay, this is something that I want to do, and you can kind of start from there. I would have landed up working for a tech company, but thankfully I'm doing what I am doing right now. So that is one of the lessons. Uncertainty may even turn out to be good. So let's not fear uncertainty just by virtue of it being uncertain. Let's hope for the best. Then another thing that I want to share with you is it's much better that career choices and those important decisions in life are made consciously by design rather than by default. And for me, they were made by default, like I shared. But let not others' dreams be yours just for the lack of clarity or because everybody is doing that. Like I wanted to join a tech company because that was what those were the largest recruiters and they used to take from. So that's what I thought was the easiest way, and it's a pretty decent profession, good salary, good enough for me also. Lots of others were studying, preparing for the UPSC exam. Of course, they went on to clear that. But again, that was not my dream. If I would have chosen that, again, I may not have been as happy as what I do. So that's like, I made a mistake, but God had other plans. And thankfully, there was that interruption and life took a different turn. But for you guys out there, I would advise that you make a choice based on your own characteristics, capabilities, your choices. What is it that you think you would like to be doing for a 3-4 decade period, and what you would enjoy doing? Then another thing is the thrill of starting something new. Like nowadays, startups are the rage. Every kid wants to have their own startup and get VC funding and all sorts. But the commitment to see it through to its logical conclusion is an entirely different thing. So there's a huge difference between that thrill and the actual work, the hard work, the sweat, the perseverance that goes into it. So one should be aware of what exactly the path and direction that one is doing. But consistency is the key. And once people persevere and stick to it for the medium term, 2 to 3 years, maybe 5 years, depending on what exactly the field, how difficult, what kind of challenges one are facing. There's no specific time limit, but a decent period of time in the medium term, then my promise to you is that you would definitely find a reasonable measure of success. And even those who were initially skeptical of you would definitely end up joining and supporting you. Most important is all of us, particularly in India, we do not understand the importance of professional networking. We are very hesitant to ask for guidance, help, advice of what to do, where to go from here, and which is a huge hindrance, it's a huge obstacle because we are not open to advice. Professional networking, all the career opportunities, and even now all the support that Indeed Foundation is getting is through the professional network that I have built over the years. Even if it is from friends or seniors and juniors, batchmates, classmates, teachers, or ex-colleagues, anybody. That is the best network. That would be the bulwark which will support you against the rough challenges in life that everybody inevitably will face. So start building, start developing that network right away, and God willing, success will be yours. This is.
Thank you so much for being with us and giving us all those inputs. All the best to you and your organization. And I'm very sure some of us would come and join you very soon. Right? Thank you,
Definitely.
sir.
In
Thank
fact,
you so much.
thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Bye-bye.